Welcome, everyone. Here they are, the sports writers. We have Phil Stacy, Matt Williams, and Nick Kukuru with us here. Gentlemen, great to be talking with you again this week, and we have a lot to discuss, I'm sure. First up, let's just jump in right into high school football. We're getting ready for another week. Got a bunch of Thursday games coming up here. I know we got some weather concerns as well, but we got some games to discuss from last week. And Phil, you and I were at the Fenwick game on Thursday night. I know, Willie, you were at Peabody, I'm sure, on Friday night when they took care of Leominster. Rick Moore was there as well. Nick, and we can talk about some football that you were at this weekend as well. And I happened to see North Reading on Friday night with their big win over Triton, coming in looking like a pretty competitive game, but North Reading kind of handled them. So, Willie, you want to start with Peabody? I mean, they just keep rolling. We've spent a lot of time on Peabody, but this was a big game and a big hurdle for them. So it appeared, beating Leominster.
Yeah, I just think the takeaway is no letdown, right? I mean, we always talk about the road to the penthouse to the outhouse is pretty quick, right? And they got a lot of attention last week, a lot of press clippings, rightfully so after the big win over Marblehead. But it's an opportunity to get fat and happy, and they certainly didn't do that. They came out and built a 35-0 lead. I mean, they didn't play great in the second half. They didn't put them away with running time or scored 60 points or anything. But I think when you get an undefeated team that's outscored its opponents 160-20 or whatever it was for Leominster, and you build a 35-0 lead, I mean, that's taking care of business at home, and that's what you want. And now, most likely they go into the postseason 8-0 and hope to get a good seed and hope to stay the heck away from Catholic Memorial. That's really all you can do. They have taken care of everything that they can control at this point. They can't control the way that Gloucester and Winthrop might affect their power ranking. That's sort of my fear, is that their power ranking will peak tomorrow. And then when they play Gloucester and Winthrop, it'll take a hit. And then we'll see what happens, how many games Salem can win between now and then. So, but, a good showing. Certainly, I don't think the biggest news on the North Shore from this weekend, but, they cruise along. They continue to score. I mean, it's 197 points in 4 games. They're well on their way to breaking the school record for points. And, doing it in a variety of ways. 5 interceptions in this game, which I think speaks to the ball hockeyness of the defense. I mean, anytime you go out and get 5 interceptions, you're going to be in pretty good shape by 4 different players too, which is impressive, I think, and shows the depth. Colin Ridley, 100-yard game in this one. He's the 4th different receiver to have a 100-yard game for this team so far this season in 5 games. So that's pretty impressive too. You got depth everywhere, and they just roll on, and wouldn't expect anything to change over these next 3 weeks.
Nick Kukuru, do you want to pick up on some football from the last weekend?
Yeah, sure. I mean, we had a little, let's say, kind of a surprise. Kip Academy knocking Manchester Essex from the unbeaten. Manchester Essex was the 1 seed in Division 8, 4-0 going in. But Kip, who had struggled on both sides of the ball coming into it, but they got a big boost. Quarterback Juan Settlesing returned to their lineup, and he's just a dominant player on both sides of the ball, quarterback and defensive back. I think he had 2 picks. He had 2 interceptions the other night. The Kip defense had 4 interceptions off of a good Manchester Essex offense. And he threw the ball well on him too. So that's 2 in a row that were kind of unexpected. Manchester Essex came in as a bit of a favorite and got bumped off by a good Kip team. So yeah, it kind of makes that Commonwealth race pretty interesting now. Manchester Essex has Lowell Catholic in a couple weeks, and if they beat them there, that might force a 3-way tie. If Lowell Catholic will be playing for the championship that night, so that'll be another close and an interesting ball game. And also saw Winthrop Friday night. Winthrop was pretty impressive. They beat Gloucester 28-8. They looked pretty comparable to Salem, if we're being totally honest. Balanced offense. They were tough. Winthrop might have been a little bigger up front. But that looks like that's setting up a pretty good game coming up with Winthrop and Salem. Gloucester's 1-4 now. They're probably their playoff chances, I think, are probably close to 0 now with that loss, to be honest with you, because they're not beating Peabody, and 3-5's not going to get them in.
Phil Stacy, you were at a couple of games this weekend, including the Beverly Danvers game as well as the Fenwick game.
Yes, I was. surprising Friday night, that result, I think. Not so much that Danvers won, but the fact that they won 47-0. I mean, that looked to be a pretty evenly matched team. But it was anything but even. Gloucester scored on its first possession, onside kick, got the ball, went down and scored again. They did another onside kick after that, got the ball, went down and scored. It was 21-0, 8 minutes in. And Beverly head coach Jeff Hutton said, clearly they saw something on film that we weren't doing correctly, and they took advantage of it. And, Danvers was coming off of what they termed a bad loss in Winthrop the previous Friday. I want to say it was 22-13, and felt like they were playing for their season. If they want to make the playoffs, they had to win this game, and they did convincingly. Switched up their offense. Instead of keeping what I would say is their best skilled player, Owen Gasanowski, out in the slot, where he's being double teamed every time he lines up, they put him in the backfield in more of a pistol formation, where he was able to run the ball for over 100 yards, and he caught almost 100 yards in passes. Resulted in 4 touchdowns to him. The defense was outstanding, led by Aris Zaris, the captain for Danvers. And, it was really a complete team win. I think I was telling Willie during the game, texting him, I said, I've never seen the Danvers coaches so fired up during a game. Ryan Nolan, his staff were, don't let up, keep it going, pedal to the metal, don't be satisfied, just keep going. And they kept that mindset going for 48 minutes. Afterwards, I don't know, Bill, if you might have saw this, but I tweeted something out saying that.
Oh, I saw it.
You did, yeah. So, yeah, I'm still hearing from people about it. Hey, most of what we do is, I would not call it rah-rah, but we're not in the business of, we don't point out like, oh, so-and-so made 3 errors, or, Bill Newell dropped this pass in the end zone kind of thing. It's high school sports. You have to know your audience. But I times where, it merits, from your so-called expert opinion, it merits that you tell the truth when you see it the way it is. And I sent out a tweet just saying that for all the Beverly High football games I've seen in my life, both in my job and then even before that, when I was, young guy growing up in Beverly, I couldn't ever recall a game in which they just didn't bring it. I mean, hey, they're a team, everything is cyclical in high school sports. You have up years, down years, you have good players, bad players, whatnot. But to me, anyway, I always felt as though the Beverly football program kind of prided itself on toughness and being aggressive and getting after it. And, even in down years, you play to the whistle and that kind of thing. And, I just didn't see it Friday night. I think when they fell down 21-0 in the first quarter, that was it. I'm choosing my words carefully again, because these are high school students, and, it's not life or death or anything like that. But, I think any athlete that plays at a varsity level realizes, when you put on the uniform, you're playing for something bigger than yourself. You're playing for pride in your school and your town and things like this. And I just didn't see that. So there's a half a season left. As Nick mentioned about the Gloucester Fishermen, Beverly is not going to the playoffs this year. It's one of those years. It's not going to work out for them, but there's still plenty to play for. If you're a senior, you have 6 games left in your career. Make the most of it. Play as hard as you can. If you're an underclassman that's trying to earn a varsity spot, or trying to impress the coaching staff, or trying to get better, or trying to get looked at for colleges or whatever, you have all the motivation in the world that you need. You're going to play a team on Thanksgiving that would love to beat you, and that you've run roughshod over for the last few years. Well, you're winless and they're undefeated right now. Now, they're probably not going to stay undefeated. I mean, they could, but they probably are not going to. But they're going to come in feeling like they're not only going to beat you, they're going to beat you badly. And you have to rise up to that level of play. So to me, there's still a lot for Beverly to play for. I think it's up to the team to decide, what are they going to do? Are they going to, ho-hum, we're 0-5, or are they going to say, you know what, let's turn it around. Let's play up to the capabilities we have. let's get back to those things that have made Beverly High football so respected. And, that teams know that they're going to be in a battle every game. Get back to that. Make this a one-game blip. Make this the one game that you can say, you know what? Yeah, we got beat really bad, but it turned our season around. We shall see if that happens.
And
Well,
and Phil, the Beverly team rallied back the week prior to that a number of times against the
They
Masco
did.
team. Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean that was
and again, that
very
was one of the
impressive.
things
Yeah,
that's what Willie and I talked about after the game. He's like, I don't understand. I mean, I don't want to put words in your mouth, Willie, but he was saying, I don't understand. This team rallied against Masco. They had a shot to win. They played great. They had all this offense going late and things like that. And it just wasn't. Maybe it was just one of those nights. But
yeah.
Willie, what were you going to say?
well, that's the thing. I mean, I picked them based on that second half against Masco, and then they go out and lay an egg like that. But I mean, you know what? Like, hey guys, guess what? This week, Piper Field, have fun. You think you're going to rebuild your season? I mean, if you quit against Danvers, what are you going to do when you go over to Marblehead, a team that's owned you recently? You know what I mean? And you know what? Like, this is varsity football. I'm sorry. Like, this is not, golf. This is not ultimate disc. This is not mountain biking, with respect to those sports, that get done in high school. This is varsity football. There's criticism. Everybody loves the rings, the varsity jackets, that kind of stuff. Hey, this is a sport that people still care about. And when things like this happen, they're going to talk, people are going to talk about it. And I don't feel badly about that. I don't think you should make any apologies for that. I mean, this is the
No apologies at all. I mean,
the one thing that people still care about, and it is different. And people out there, the fans of other sports, and listen, we cover other sports, I think, as well as anybody in the state. I'll fight anybody on that. But the fact is that football is different, and it does get covered a little bit differently. And I think that these players can certainly take the heat, and they can't be surprised. And I think the coaches too. I mean, they get into it knowing that there's a little bit more scrutiny, and that's
no question.
That's why they get out of bed in the morning, the good ones. So I was stunned. I mean, they made me look like the fool's fool, to pick them to get an upset win based on that great second half, and then to come out and lay an egg like that. I mean, to lose worse to Danvers than you did to Peabody. I mean, that's stunning based on the caliber of those clubs.
Well, and Kooks, I know Jeff Hutton well from his time in Manchester. Of course, I've known Jeff from back when he was an assistant coach in Beverly too, and he's a good guy. I believe he's a good coach. You don't just forget how to coach. This is a guy who led Manchester to a Super Bowl.
Very successful coach.
Yeah, they know what they're doing.
He had some ups and downs there too, and he fought back. They had a real tough year where they had low numbers. They had about 20 kids in the program, and he brought them back the next year. I think they made the North Finals. So, I mean, he's bounced back before too.
Yeah, I mean, Jack Welch, who you could make a case for being the greatest football coach ever in these parts. I'm not saying he is or he isn't, but you could certainly make the case. 224 wins with a school the size of Ipswich with 5 Super Bowl titles is pretty good. He had no intense season. He had a couple of 1 and 2 win seasons. Didn't make him a bad coach. Sometimes you just have a bad class come through, or just a bad mix, or you hit bad luck or whatever. What you have to do is pull yourself up off the mat and find a way, individually and team-wise, to get better. It's got to come from the leaders of the team. And the coaches take responsibility too. I mean, when the team's not winning, it doesn't all fall on, the players. The coaches know that they have to do a better job and coach things up and all. And, I talked with Jeff Hutton Sunday morning, and he said, hey, if I was afraid of being criticized, I wouldn't be in this job, and that's how it is. Somebody's always going to be unhappy or whatnot. So it's just, I feel as though, and I think Willie said this, it's varsity football. I mean, if you're going to put on the uniform, if you gotta, if you're more worried about how your drip looks or making sure everything's in the right place and all, then maybe, this isn't the sport for you. If you want to go out and play hard and, do the best that you can, win or lose, put forth the effort, then I don't think anybody has any problem with that.
What I don't get is they had it. I mean, they had it. If they, because obviously you didn't see that game, so you go from Peabody,
The Masco game, right, yeah.
You go from Peabody, who kicked that butt, to Danvers, it was 87-0. The last two games that you've seen.
Yeah, and if you include North Reading the week before that, I think it's 122 to 15, 14.
Jeez. And then in between.
But I never felt, I mean, we were both
great.
at the Peabody game. I never felt like they were packing it in against Peabody ever.
Oh, they were just outclassed.
They were just beaten by a better team, and that's going to happen. But I don't feel like, when Peabody got up, what was it, 28-0 at halftime, I want to say, I didn't feel as though like, well, this game is over, like they're going to roll. Like, yeah, Peabody had the momentum and all, but you figured like Beverly was still coming to play, and they went after it hard. They were just beaten by a better team. There's no shame in that.
Well, we've all, the three of us, four of us, including Bill, we've all seen teams that, just are either building, they have too many sophomores on the field, or that kind of stuff. Usually those teams don't have a half like Beverly had against Masco. Beverly looked like they had found it. Like if we take what we did in this half and we put it in a bottle and we bring it to the rest of our games, we're going to have a football season here. And I'm just stunned. That's why I picked them to win. The Danvers guys are all laughing at me. They all think I'm the biggest bozo on the North Shore now. Go out and win 47-0. That's honestly one of the worst picks that I think I've ever had in my life.
They should have known when they saw mine. I'm 0-5 now in upsets. So
you
really,
I haven't got one right all season.
but I'll say that about this. Like,
game. But they took that bottle and they poured it out on the grass and threw it away and flushed it down the toilet instead of bringing it to the next game. It stuns me. I'm really shocked that that's what happened. I've had 3 days to think about it and I still can't.
Well, you know what?
All right, we got to settle Willie down here. Go ahead, Phil.
I love that people are passionate about the picks we make. I mean, A, it means they're reading. B, it means they're invested in their team or their school or whatnot. It's inevitable, especially when we have two teams from the same our coverage area play each other. It's bound to be, if you see somebody or they know you or whatnot, like, why'd you pick against us? Or why'd you pick them? It's inevitable. I mean, I'm sure it'll happen Friday night when I'm in Danvers watching Danvers Swampson. I don't even know who I'm going to pick yet. I think it's a pretty even game, but whoever I pick, I'm sure someone's going to be like, why'd you pick them? But it's like what the coaches say. If you bothered by criticism or whatever, I mean, it is what it is. It's just,
I have a quick story on that. Years ago, many years ago, on my very early days at WESX, one of the former Salem News sports writers was covering a game in another city, and they had picked against this team that beat one of the Salem News teams, if you will. Mm-hmm. And the coach was berated this reporter, very well-respected reporter, after the game for the pick. Basically saying, what do you, here's to your pick and blah, blah, blah. And we were picking games back then at the radio station. Like there was a little thing like, let's pick this game. And after that I said, I'm not picking any games. The newspaper guys, they're thicker skinned. They're on this 24/7. They can pick the games, but I'm out of that. I'm out of that game. I'm not here to pick.
I think I know who that was because I've hered that story before, so I do think I know who that is.
I can tell. I would even tell you in a way because I don't I don't blame a coach for being upset in a way.
Well, I do in this way. Okay, I mean, the way that I've always believed. I mean, of course, we're not in the locker room. We don't know like whose girlfriend broke up with the quarterback and he's upset, or we don't know like who had a tough time on a test, or any of the myriad of things that can affect a high schooler's state of mind or whatever, or what motivation somebody's playing for or whatnot. We're not there for those speeches, but I would say this: if you need, and I would say this to a coach, and I think most of them get it, but there are a few out there that don't. If you need us to motivate your team by saying they picked against us, then you're probably in the wrong line of work. Like, come on. We're just doing this. It's like fun. It's a talking point. We're not the, Vegas high rollers over here who, set the line and things like that. We're just doing it for fun. It's not, I don't know. I just feel like if someone, I mean, that would never happen where someone berated me over a pick, but.
Well, yeah, right. Maybe Willie.
That's not going to happen.
But, now with our Massachusetts sports betting, I just got to let you know, just to be
Oh,
safe,
geez.
that is not impacting high school sports.
No.
So there won't be real state money on this deal. But we got to move on here.
We did have, just real quickly, we did have several years ago, I want to say, Willie, when you were maybe first starting at the paper, someone did ask us a couple of years in a row if we would come out with lines for the Thanksgiving Day because people wanted to make those like football cards and have it like official or whatever.
I've heard that happens.
Yeah.
I would say too, real quick on that Danvers Swampscott game that you mentioned very quickly, Owen Gazanowski, 190 whatever yards from scrimmage, and you got Jason Carter Spotty on the Swampscott side had 200 yards from scrimmage and 4 touchdowns in their win. He had 100 yards both receiving and rushing. That's a pretty rare thing. So that's a pretty good matchup. You don't see two guys coming off games like that going against each other too often. So that's a really marquee match there, just in terms of two guys coming off combined over 400 yards from scrimmage the previous
I think
week.
Gasanowski was 203, if I remember right.
Yeah, could have. Yeah, right. Because it was, he was well over 100 rushing, and so he would have, just because it wasn't 100.
Yeah, it was like 110 and 93 or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, almost 450 yards from scrimmage combined between the two of those guys last week. That's pretty rare, I'd say.
Mm-hmm.
That should be a great game. Hey, I'm going to change the subject here because there's a couple of shout outs we have to give here. First of all, I gotta pass this on that I talked to Jared Scarpacci, the Masconomet boys soccer coach, this past week, and he mentioned that he does watch this podcast. So we got to do a little shout out to him and thank him. So he's the guy that's listening and watching this podcast. So we're wondering who that person was. It's him. And then this happened this past week or so. Phil, maybe you can. Wait a minute. I got to do. I'm sorry, I'm in the wrong thing here. Hold on. I got to share my screen here with this picture here. Okay, here we go. All right. Yeah, there we go. Phil, what's this? What is this picture right here, Phil? This is Phil Stacey, sports editor. Looks like you're yeah, there he is. With
there I am. Yeah, on
Amelia and Noel.
Yes, so we have
over in Peabody.
Massa on my left. She's the goaltender for the Beverly High field hockey team, and Noel McLean is the make it bigger. That's even better, Bill.
Yeah, there you go.
Noel is on the right. That's over at Willie's old stomping grounds, Peabody High School, last week after Beverly defeated Peabody in field hockey. Amelia had the shutout. Noel had both goals in the game. It was a pretty good game. No scoring until the fourth quarter. And I was interviewing the two players after the game and asked to get a photo together. And Bill, I think you said, how about you jump in for a photo? And I'm like,
yeah, that was me. Yeah.
Yeah. And the girls were good sports about it. In fact, they wanted it. They wanted this copy of this photo. So I had you send it to me and I sent it to them. They were really good sports about it. And you know what? They played great. And they're great to interview. And Beverly, since then has won 4 straight games, all by shutout. So maybe this has been a spark for Amelia. I mean, this, I don't know if this photo that you took, Bill, has worked as some kind of talisman to prevent goals from getting past her in the nets for the Panthers. I'm not sure.
You never know. I mean, I think it's one thing to it's crazy enough to take this photo to begin with, but then to have somebody ask for it, I think that's what struck me as being very unusual.
I just assumed it was being made into a dartboard.
Come on now.
Where I have a pretty big target in between the two girls here.
I think they're taking this photo. I may be wrong. What they're going to do is cut off the two girls on the edges and bring it over and put it in the Beverly locker room for football this week.
Oh, okay. You know what?
I'm not sure for their dartboard. Maybe that's what they're going to do.
Well, you know what? That could be. I just thought maybe they liked my sweatshirt a lot. I didn't know, what it was, but
all right. So enough of that.
Great student athletes, and happy for them. They're doing so well.
Did you have a shout out, Phil, or not? I'm not sure if you did or not. Anything else?
I don't know. Did I? I don't remember.
I don't know that there was.
I'll shout. You know what? I'll shout out. I think we all know him, Cooks. I think you know who I mean. I'll just shout out Willie Tenney. It's good to see him back on the Fenwick sidelines.
Oh yeah.
I saw Willie last spring If you know Willie, he is a Peabody guy. In fact, Willie, he told me he was going to be jumping back on the Tanners bandwagon soon.
Oh, that figures. So,
Yeah.
yeah, he, you know what? We'll see what happens with the Yankees, right? But as we
Oh.
all know, Willie is nothing if not a front runner. So that makes
He
perfect
admits
sense.
it. He fully admits it. He's
He does.
good.
He does.
They're good again, so I'm going to go back.
Okay. Well, hey, you know
Okay.
what? Points for honesty. I mean, that's,
He owns
you know,
it. Yeah.
You probably are a happier person if you're
He
just a
owns it.
front runner.
He
You know
told
what
me
I
he
mean?
already
Why
has
wouldn't you
World
be a
Series
happier
tickets.
person?
Yeah.
yeah.
But Willie is so lovable. You know, Willie is like the what would you call him? Not the trainer, but he's kind of like the he's not a mascot. Willie's just like a super fan.
Equipment,
Manager
you know,
manager
manager,
kind of.
Yeah,
does
that's
the
a good way to
ballboy
put it.
stuff.
Manager. And he wanted to I think Bill, you were there. He wanted to warm up and play football before the game. So he was off his arm the other day, and he told me he never drops any passes, and he proceeded to drop like 5. To which I gave him the business. But Willie's a great guy, and we're happy to see him back after he had some medical issues. He's just a super fan, and team manager helps out with whatever they're doing. So he's I know the people at Fenwick are happy to have him, and Tannertown, look out, he's coming your way, at least on the football sidelines, Willie, if you want to let Coach Betancourt and his charges know.
Yeah, we'll see.
The Lucky Charm. There he is. Yeah.
He's a lucky charm, all right. Yeah. I don't know about magically delicious, but he's a lucky charm.
Hey, let's run around and do some non-football here. If you guys want to touch on something that's non-football, Nick, let's go over to you on some things that are happening or happened, up in the Cape Ann area.
Yeah, sure. I mean, Gloucester boys soccer is closing in on another potential single season goal scoring record mark. Junior Gino Tripoli's got 22 goals in 12 games. 29 is the single season record, so he could really give that a run for his money. He had 3 the other night against Rockport. He's a real big physical striker with speed. He's about 6'2", 6'3", and he can finish. He can run and he can finish. So he's tough. He's tough to match up with. Gloucester's 9-3. They're off to a really good start. And I'd say the other interesting thing in my area, Phil was at this morning, so he can talk a little more about that.
Oh yeah. Gloucester Masco field hockey. That was a really good game. 1-1 tie. I was really impressed with Gloucester's first time seeing them. I know they beat Danvers. I know they only had 1 loss coming in to Masco, so you knew they were legit, but they fell behind early. They kind of stuck to their guns. They switched up their defensive formation a little bit, went to less man on man, more into kind of like the zone that they think they traditionally play, and gained some momentum, got a goal in the third period from Lily Pregent, and pulled off a really nice 1-1 tie. So they're legit. I wrote about the fact that it's really like a 3-team race, although you can't really throw Swampscott out of that mix. They're playing great too, but and Beverly's playing very well. But it's you have 3 teams with 2 losses combined. Danvers lost to Masco, Gloucester lost to Danvers, and Masco was tied both of those teams. So
that's a good race. Yeah.
No,
really good race.
Gloucester beat Danvers, lost to Masco.
I'm sorry, is that what I mixed it up? Yeah, Gloucester beat Danvers, lost to Masco. So Gloucester and Masco are done, but Danvers still has to play Gloucester once and Masco once. And I think both of those games are in Danvers at the Deering Stadium turf. So the conference title race is yet to be decided. It's open for someone to take it. It might be, Danvers, I think, might determine the fate of the entire thing because they both of those teams. So it should be a great couple of weeks down the end of the regular season.
Also in my area, I also wanted to shout out Manchester Essex field hockey. They tied Danvers last week too, which was a big result for them, playing up a couple divisions. And they're I want to say 8-1-2, 9-1-2 on the season. So they're running away with the Cal Baker, and they're going to be a force again in Division 4. And it looks like Uxbridge is the team to beat in Division 4 again. The defending champs are undefeated now, so that could be Uxbridge waxed Manchester Essex in the semifinals last year. So there could be a rematch at some point along the way this year.
I think I remember, at the final last year, Uxbridge and Ipswich, they were only losing like 2 seniors or something.
Yeah. They had some 8th graders that were good last year.
Yeah,
I remember correctly.
One of the 8th graders was one of the best players I remember.
Yeah.
And I think that last time I saw it, when I looked on the power ranks, they were like 12-0 already.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're for real. So that's going to be Manchester's biggest test, I'm thinking, in the tournament.
Nick, I'm glad you mentioned that game because I was looking at the scores and Manchester Essex, Danvers, tying, right? It was a tie, right? You said, yeah. I
Yep.
think, is that right? Is that possibly, but that's great. Yeah.
It was, and this isn't to take anything away from Manchester Essex, but Danvers was playing with their backup goalie. Their starter, Megan McGinnity, had a little bit of an injury. She's hoping to be back this week, but she's missed a couple of games. So Danvers hasn't lost without her in the lineup, but that was a tie. And I'm not saying it would have shifted it one way or the other, but I think if you're Danvers, they came away from that game feeling pretty good, knowing that they were able to get a point against a strong Manchester Essex team without their starting goalie.
Willie, do you have any non-football to share with us, if you will?
I don't
Mountain
think
biking, Willie?
Say again?
Mountain biking?
Yeah. Well, speaking of St. John's Prep, I don't think we mentioned this last week on the pod, but Nate Lopez from the Prep, the great runner, committed to run at Michigan. So that's pretty cool. Congratulations to him. He was our spring outdoor track runner of the year last year, a distance man from Linfield and Prep cross country. They were out in Yonkers, New York this past week at Van Cortlandt Park, running in a just a traditional meet that they travel for and stuff. So team that certainly looks like it could have the ability to win another all-state cross country title. I'm trying to think if that would be 3 in a row or 4 in a row at this point for the Prep, but the Harriers are running along, and certainly anytime you get a guy that can go do any sports at Michigan, that's pretty legit. So congrats to Nathan Lopez.
I want to say too, if I could, congratulations to Andrew Boppel, who was named head varsity boys hockey coach at Masconomet. He's been an assistant there for 10 years, and he is now ascended to the head job. So congratulations to him. I don't know what kind of welcoming gift he'll get from St. John's Prep on opening night. The Chieftains open up with the defending state champion Eagles. But he's excited for the job. He's a great guy. The program's in good hands with him. So congratulations to Bob. And
I read your story, Phil. He has wedding bells in his future too, right?
Or he does. Yes. Yeah. He's getting married a week from Saturday. So a lot of planning going on in his life between wedding and hockey.
Yeah, that's right. All right. I hope hockey doesn't suffer because of this. Getting married is very stressful.
Well, I told him, I'm like, just keep your priorities straight. You'll be fine.
Okay. Very good.
So I think he knows what to do. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Gentlemen, anything else in the final moments here of this podcast this week? Oh, what about games? Any games this week too? We're coming off. We're recording on Monday, Indigenous Peoples Day or Columbus Day or both. I guess if you check your calendar on your phone, I guess both are listed now, which is good.
Yes. Yes.
So, anyways, any big games on the horizon this week?
I think we got a good Willie? Is it a volleyball game between Peabody and Marblehead, two top teams in the conference? Are both...
Yeah, that should be for first place. I haven't looked at the standings. So Beverly's right up there too, and Masco's pretty good, but I think that would be for first place if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and you obviously have a great game tonight. By the time people hear this, it'll be over. But you're going over to Danvers, Falcon Breath to catch Danvers and Masco.
Yeah, little girls soccer action. See what happens if it's a coronation for the Chieftains or if Danvers can give them a run for their money. I think it was pretty one-sided the first time, so certainly expect some wrinkles from the Falcon side. But we'll see what happens. Looks like the rain could be falling too, so you never know if that slicks the ball up a little bit. Maybe a little tougher to pass there on the turf. We'll see.
Hey, it's the world's game, my friend. Anything can happen.
That's right.
Okay. Sounds good. Gentlemen, always good talking with you. Great job again this week, and we will talk again soon.